welcome to Crime Bytes, the show where we talk about some truly bizarre and disturbing crime cases. My name is Liz, and today is True Crime Tuesday. So, how many of you guys saw the eclipse last month? It's pretty amazing, right? Now, how many of you guys kind of wondered if the world could possibly end when the sun and the moon aligned? Come on, I know some of you wondered, maybe even low-key. I know I did my fair share of looking at the conspiracies. You literally cannot have an eclipse, turn of the century, or major world event without people going on about how the world is going to end. And combining theories with scientific evidence, then adding a splash of mythology or lore, and then boom, the world is gonna end. Seriously though, some of these theories can be partially rooted in facts and become quite intricate and convincing to the point where you might have to stop yourself from getting sucked in. Anyhow, first let's break down what happens during a solar eclipse. Our Earth is constantly rotating at about 67,000 miles an hour, and our moon is constantly moving along in its orbit. Solar eclipses happen when the moon passes between the Earth and the sun, causing the three masses to align. This causes the moon to cast a shadow onto the Earth's surface. These will occur only during the new moon, or when the moon is in the daytime sky. Typically, though, during a new moon, the moon will orbit either above or below the sun. There are 2 times a year that are called eclipse seasons, where the moon will cross the sun in a manner that will provide an opportunity for an eclipse. Now, during a total solar eclipse, the moon aligns perfectly with the sun, which results in the sky darkening momentarily. The sun is 400 times bigger than the moon, and it's also 400 times farther away. And this makes the sun and the moon appear to be almost the same size in the sky. So on April 8th of this year, 2024, we had a total solar eclipse, and it was really cool. Here is my picture. Not nearly as cool as the scientific ones that I pulled, but still pretty neat. And this type of eclipse is so rare that we aren't predicted to see another like it until August 23rd of 2044. So wow. Anyways, how many of you guys are into astrology? I'm not so much myself, but from time to time I find it interesting or fun to look at, and eclipses obviously play a huge part in astrology. Specifically, people believe that they can shift dynamics, lead to sudden events, such as new or broken relationships, and add intensity to new or full moon events that already take place. Today's story is about a woman who ended up making a career for herself with astrology. Before we get into that, our story begins bright and early at 4:30 a.m. along the 405 freeway in California, which is also known as one of the busiest freeways in the world. And that fun fact is really unfortunate for today's story because slightly before 4:30, the door of a black Porsche SUV would open while the car was still in motion, and a little girl holding an infant would come flying out of it. The infant would be struck by another moving car as the children were thrown onto the freeway, and police would respond and pronounce the young girl dead at the scene. The older girl, who was 9, would manage to make it to the side of the freeway before the police came, and she was miraculously still alive, so she was rushed to the hospital and treated for her injuries. She would state that her mother, Danielle Johnson, had pushed herself and her baby sister out of the car after she refused to jump out in the middle of the busiest highway in the world. Okay, so who is this Danielle Johnson? At the time of our story, Danielle Johnson was a professional astrologer, Reiki healer, and aspiring singer. She lived in a pretty nice apartment in Woodland Hills, California, with her 2 daughters and her boyfriend, Jaelen Chaney. She was raised by her mother, Sharonda Cole, who had Danielle when she was 17. Danielle's father did not remain in the picture, and by the time she was in high school, she was living with her aunt and uncle while her mom battled an active drug addiction. She would go on to study psychology at Norfolk State, where she would also sing in the choir and learn to play the piano. She did not end up getting her degree, however, and sort of transitioned into Reiki work and energy healing. Now, I have to admit that I didn't, or I really still don't know a whole lot about Reiki work, so I had to look it up. According to one source, Reiki is an energy healing technique that promotes relaxation, reduces stress and anxiety through gentle touch. Reiki practitioners use their hands to deliver energy to your body, improving the flow and balance of your energy to support healing. So they're going to be putting their hands on you. Type energy healing. I don't know. Anyhow, Reiki is a term derived from two Japanese words, rei, which means universal, and ki, which refers to a life source energy that is believed to flow through all living things. The goal of Reiki treatment is to help people become more energetically balanced. That sounds pretty good, actually. So that's the direction Danielle decided to take her life in. Her website also notes that at age 3, she had a near-death experience that paved her way almost like a rite of passage into shamanism. It also states that she comes from a long line of energy healers, shaman, and medicine women. So there's that. She advertised herself as having a unique approach to healing the mind, body, and soul. And it didn't seem like this was all talk either. She had made a career for herself with these energy healings and the spells or cleanses that she would do for people. If you look at her Twitter page, you can see she built up to over 100,000 followers. Her handle was Mystic Lipstick. She's got a pretty picture and roses for her background. Her description reads, recording artist at Ayoka, astrologer, Reiki master, teacher. Then she has her email, Etsy shop, and website. So she was doing her thing and seemed like she was doing it pretty well from the looks of it. Danielle would give birth to her first daughter in 2015. And the father would not stay in the picture. She would end up struggling from postpartum depression as well, and her mother would encourage her to get her own energy healer or even a psychologist. It seemed that Danielle really found herself in helping other people work through their problems. She even had a healing course that people paid $150 a month for around 5 months to take. In 2019, Danielle would decide that she was going to move from New York to LA to begin a singing career. She would continue her spiritual practice as well, and in 2021, she would start a small business selling candles with her mother called Rich Girl Magic. Her mother would move in with her for this venture, but it would not last very long. At first, things were going well, and they got tense pretty quick. So tense that she would make her mother move out, and from there, her mother would claim that she was in and out of homeless shelters. During this time, Danielle was finalizing her divorce with her daughter's father, and things were really starting to heat up with her new boyfriend, Jaelen Chaney. So in 2021, Jaelen became interested in astrology, and he ended up on Danielle's website. He connected with her as a customer first, then as time went on, he connected with her more romantically and actually ended up moving out to LA to live with Danielle and her daughter. Jaelen was described as smart, outgoing, and caring. He was originally from Michigan, attended high school in Florida, then he joined the Air Force and traveled the world. He actually found Danielle while he was stationed in Italy. He would start by buying candles and healing products, but things turned into talking, and he ended up being described as her emotional soldier. He would listen to her for hours if she needed him to. By all accounts, they seemed like a great couple. The couple would welcome a daughter into the world together just 8 months before the total solar eclipse. The day Danielle would shove her 2 daughters into oncoming traffic on the busiest freeway in the world. Shortly after the 911 calls came in about Danielle's daughters, a second set of 911 calls started coming in. This time, the calls were pertaining to a car crash. Danielle had apparently crashed her Porsche SUV right into a tree at the speed of around 100 miles an hour, killing herself instantly. So why would she do this? It seemed like she had some sort of psychotic break, possibly related to her beliefs and the eclipse. Unfortunately, because she took her own life, we will never know for sure, but there are some indicators. On her Twitter page, she pinned this post to the top of her feed on April 5th, just 3 days before the eclipse. It reads, "Wake up, wake up, the apocalypse is here. Everyone who has an ear, listen. Your time to choose what you believe is now. If you believe a new world is possible for the people, retweet now. There is power in choice. There is power in choice. Repost to make the choice for the collective." So yeah, that kind of stuff. But we're not done with our story yet, because the police would receive a third set of 911 calls, this time about a suspicious situation at the apartment where Danielle and Jaelen lived with their children. One of the neighbors discovered blood in the hallway and reported that his daughter had heard someone screaming that morning at around 4 a.m. He would call 911 and they would have him go check, and because the door was slightly ajar with blood all over it, the guy said he thought he saw legs sticking out from behind something in the kitchen area. When he went in to check, he found Jaelen Chaney dead on the floor. He said there were tarot cards and black feathers all over the table. So the police would come and Jaelen would be pronounced dead. Danielle had stabbed him right in his heart. Apparently, Danielle's 9-year-old daughter would witness this attack, saying that her mother started stabbing Jaelen while he was on the couch. After this, she would attempt to drag his body out of the apartment, but it seemed like this wouldn't work for her, so she dragged him back inside and just left him on the kitchen floor, where he would ultimately be discovered by his neighbor. So we are left with 3 crime scenes and one little girl who was fortunate to survive, but that poor girl, I can't even imagine. Danielle has also done a lot of blogging. One topic in particular stands out about toxic nurturing, which is described as wanting to give people the love that they never got from their parents. She said that it was a result of people not being properly loved by their parents. Shots fired. And her mother said that it read like she was writing about their relationship. So Danielle was dealing with a lot of her own issues, along with trying to run a business and trying to become a singer. And she had a newborn to look after. It seemed like she cracked. I don't know, that's a lot of stress. And whatever she was believing about the end of the world happening in connection with the eclipse must have been that final straw that literally pushed her over the edge. And she struggled with postpartum with her first daughter, so it would make sense that it may have been a factor for her in this instance as well. All of these things just added up to the perfect storm in this case, it seems. What do you guys think? The last time she saw Danielle, her mother was walking out of a homeless shelter when Danielle and Jaelen were driving by, and Danielle pulled over to talk to her. Danielle and Jaelen wanted Sharonda to take responsibility for their estrangement. At which point, Sharonda says to Jaelen, "You will only know what she told you. I told you she is nothing but an illusion." Then she cryptically stated, "You're on your own now. I can't help you." What do you guys think about that? Talk about foretelling. Maybe there is something to her family line. And that is going to do it for today. But as always, let's try to end this on a more positive note. Today we are going to highlight a Child's Hope Foundation. Their mission statement reads, "We believe no child should be abandoned to raise themselves. That's why a Child's Hope Foundation exists, to equip orphaned and vulnerable children with skills, resources, and community so they can improve the trajectory of their lives. We do this by offering training, building communities, engaging volunteers, and inspiring donors so that capable caregivers are provided with skills, resources, community, and ultimately hope. All of this is delivered through our Thrive program, which gives caregivers the tools that they need to help the children in their care, heal from trauma, gain practical skills, and elevate their futures." Sounds great. This program was started by Paul and Carolyn Cook, a couple who found themselves on a relief trip in Haiti after the adoption agency they used when adopting their daughter asked them if they would like to see just how their donation was being used. This sure sparked a fire, and a Child's Hope Foundation was born. It had to relocate to Mexico due to security issues with volunteers in Haiti, apparently, and today it operates in 8 different countries. To learn more about their Thrive program or to get involved yourself, visit achildshopeffoundation.org. They even have service trips where you can go volunteer at an orphanage and get a first-hand experience of what these children are going through, while also helping the project. Anyhow, that is all I have for you today. I can't believe it's almost June already. We're going to switch gears next month and focus on some diabolical daddies. I found so many murderous mommies though this month. I ran out of time, so I'll have more of those stories again for you at some point soon. I mean, I could almost do a whole day just for that. How about Murder Mommy Monday? Something like that. We'll see. Maybe in the future. Anyhow, until next week, please stay safe out there. Bye!